Hello guys, and today I'm going to try and make a chocolate cake from a recipe book by Mary Berry from her recipe book Fast Cakes, okay? And she calls it a rare first-rate chocolate cake, okay? And this is the ingredient. She says you need two sets, one for the icing and one for the main part of the cake. The main part, she says you need some cocoa powder. So that's this, and this time I've got the real thing, and it says ideal for baking, and it's Cadbury's Bournville. This is the proper stuff. Sometimes people use this for drinking, but you can also use this to make cakes. That's what I'm going to do. Lift this up and you'll see there's a seal. I've no idea how you're meant to break this. I'm just going to do it the hard way. There you go. Now we have the cocoa powder, and it does here say that it consists of yep. So it says here cocoa powder. I know it's at the wrong edge, but cocoa powder. I didn't bend it much more in case it goes everywhere. But it is cocoa powder, honestly. So now, in the recipe, it says you should use 1 rounded tablespoon of cocoa powder and 2 tablespoons of hot water. Now, earlier, I got some hot water. Okay, and I put this from the kettle, so I'm going to put this in first. It's probably one way of doing it, but I'm doing this because I'm filming it and it's the easiest way I'm going to do it. Now, I'm going to do, so I'm going to put in so I think that will do. That'll go in there. I'll quickly stir it. And I'm supposed to wait for it to cool down. And this weather it'll be impossible, but there you go. So and although I tested this with my hand, it was literally very hot. It's now quite cool. So now I think I can move on to getting the other ingredients now. Sorry if my shadow was in the way, but you know, it's difficult trying to film things. So now I've put in lots of other ingredients. Now I think I'll just wait for it to cool a little bit. But there you go. So that's the cocoa powder. And as I said, this is Cadbury Bournville. It is proper cocoa powder. It's not the cheapest, but it's not ridiculously expensive. Cadbury is the main chocolate brand over here. Most people buy Cadbury chocolate if they're going to eat chocolate usually. Okay? It was a British brand, but it's been bought out by Hershey's, I believe. Oh no, it's not been bought out. It's been bought out, I believe, in some way by somebody. It's used under license by Hershey's in America. Anyway, I'm not really au fait with all the politics of who owns what anymore, but so I believe it's now owned by Hershey's or something like that. Anyway, right, there you go. So that's that. Now, now the other things I need to do is I need to weigh some things. So I'm going to do that in a minute. I'm going to put a lot of things in, and I'm going to put some things in for a sieve, okay? So I'll be back soon, okay? Right, now, one of the easy ingredients to deal with is baking powder. So I've got some baking powder, and I just need to put in so you see if you can get the damn thing off. Why can't I just make Well, when I said it'd be easy, it is, if I can actually open the goddamn thing. It's already open, that's the trouble. Okay, I had to prise it open with a knife. I should not have had to do that, it should just come straight off, no messing. Okay, well anyway, I've got a teaspoon, so a bit more than I wanted, but never mind. I said a level teaspoon, so put that in. Now, that should have been the easiest one. Now, I'm going to have to weigh the rest of it. So, you need 100 grams of each of everything else. So, I'm going to put this on the scales and hope that now I've got it here. Now, I'm going to turn it around so you guys can see it if you can. It says 23. I don't really want that, so I'm going to switch it off. Switch it on. Okay, it's at 0. Right. Oh, you can't see it. I'll move this back a bit. So it's at 0, okay? Right, now. And I'm going to put in, and it doesn't actually tell you to sift anything for some strange reason. So, this is unusual. So I'm just going to put in some self-raising flour. It seems a ridiculous amount, but never mind. Told you to put 100, I'm going to stick at 92. Because I do think there's more in there than it says. I've sometimes questioned these scales, to be honest. Right, and now it says put 100 grams of caster sugar. So this is a brand called Tate and Lyle. I also have another brand called Whitworth, but I've put this in because it's a better brand, and to be honest, I got this in a bargain. It's a better brand anyway, so if the cake turns out badly, I'll know it's not the sugar this time, as my mum says that Whitworth brand sugar tastes horrible in her opinion. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I just thought sugar was sugar, but maybe it isn't, so this is a better brand, I believe. So I'm going to put that in. So now it says 94, so I'm going to put in, oh, typical. The stupid thing switches off when you start putting it in. Why can't things just work? Oh, you would think that scales were intelligent enough to realise when there was a large difference, they'd not switch off. Anyway, it's gone back to 0, so I'm going to guess there's about 6 in there. This is really embarrassing. It says 71. I'm still not convinced. Okay, it says 85. I honestly think there's too much here, I really do. I'm not entirely... Never mind. I should do 100, but I have had my doubts about... Oh, it's 101. Okay, so it's a bit more. So, okay. Right, so that's that done. Now put in the margarine. I'm using... I can't believe it's not butter. And she does tell you to use soft margarine for this. Amazingly, she tells you to use margarine for the cake and butter for the actual icing. So I'm going to do that, okay? Now this is a new one. So I'm going to cut it open. And I've learnt my lesson, so I'm going to switch the thing off. Well, I shouldn't have to do any of this. Switch it on again. Wait for it to reset to 0. Which it has done. Now I'm going to put in the butter, well, margarine, so that's it. Put in some large chunks of margarine. 83, 97, 103. I'm not going to bother about for him. I could take a little bit back, I suppose, but not much. 101, right. There you go, 101. That'll do. I'm not bothered about 1 extra gram. Right, so now, the only other thing I need to add is an egg. Which I have 2 eggs, which I haven't done. And they said add all the other ingredients, so as far as I'm concerned, apart from the eggs, that's it. So I'm going to now start stirring it. I'll do the eggs later. And this is a wooden spoon. Now it's starting to look like the sort of mixture I've seen before when I've made chocolate cakes before or similar. I haven't used this exact recipe before. I've used other people's recipes in the past. This was a book my mum bought, so many years ago. I'm using that recipe. I'll look into the recipe book later. There you go. Amazingly, it's actually mixed quite quick, because in the past I've often used butter because I think butter tastes nicer, to be honest, if you're going to do cakes or things like that. She said mix it for about 2-3 minutes. I think this is probably actually done. My only worry is I don't think the cake tin I'm going to put in is big enough, to be honest. Because you said put it into an 8-inch cake tin. I think mine might be about 6 inches or something, but it seems reasonable. So right, now I'm going to get the eggs and add 2 eggs to it. Right, okay, now I'm going to add the eggs. Right, and now I've got some free-range eggs, which are the most ethical way of buying eggs. These were actually in a bargain, so, you know, well, they weren't actually in a bargain, they're just cheaper than a lot of others, okay, so, and it says ISPCA assured, so that means that they've guaranteed. The ISPCA is basically an animal welfare organisation, and they've certified that the chickens were looked after when they laid the eggs, okay, or something along those lines. Now I'm supposed to use large eggs. I have medium. It'll have to do. Okay. So it told people to use 2 eggs. So in another recipe, she told people to use 3, which is baffling because she has 2 recipes in the same book for a chocolate cake. One says use 2 eggs, the other says use 3. I'm baffled, but there you go. So I'm going to break 1 egg in at a time. Okay. Now this is probably going to be a disaster. I'm usually good at breaking eggs, but with a camera, it's bound to go wrong. Nope. That's okay. Right, the other one. Right. Just check. I don't know what that was. Yeah, a little bit of egg went in. Eggshell. So Just check there's no eggshell. Normally there isn't, but you know. Okay, right. As I said, if anything's going to go wrong, it will go wrong with the camera. Okay, now. I did notice that bit, so it didn't matter. Right. So I'll whisk that for a while. I also think because it's a very, very hot day, it's also benefiting. Because normally it would not be anywhere near as liquidy as this normally. I said, I'm absolutely boiling. I'm literally wearing just underwear, some socks and some slippers. Honestly, it is that hot. Okay. If you don't believe me. Anyway. I don't know what you saw, but there you go. Right, now, what I'm going to do is I think that's more than done. And quite liquidy. I'm now going to grease the, I'll put these in here in it, so I'll put these separate in the egg container. I'll worry about this later. There's only one egg left, so it doesn't matter. And I've got one egg left for later, that's just for now, till I can throw it away. And now I'm going to grease this cake tin. So I'm going to lift it up. Just going to stick my fingers in and have some and then just do this. So this is just to grease the tin, so it will come out again afterwards in theory, okay? Actually, I think she told me to just use some paper as well. I can't be bothered. I've never bothered, so it goes everywhere. We'll worry about it, but I'm going to actually put this onto a baking tray. So I'm going to put this on a baking tray. So there you go. So I've now seen me grease the tin as much as I can. Okay, you just basically rub margarine or butter all the way around the tin. Okay. As much as you can. So now that's greased, okay? Now, I'm just going to make sure I haven't done anything completely stupid. So, before I find out I've missed something, which I haven't, so let's see. Container. Right. Right, well, I tell you to use a round bladed knife for the icing. I can't be bothered with it. Regarding the book itself, I can't remember if I showed you this or not. But basically, here it says 1981, first published 1981. So that's so now I'm going to pour this into here. I don't know if you can see any of this. Okay, so that's it going into the tin. The rest I'll probably do off camera because it's a bit awkward. Right, so that's that. I will do the rest off camera because it's awkward, okay? But that's essentially it, okay? And now this is, after I've done it and put a bit more in, that is then going to go into the oven, okay? And you'll later see me putting it into the oven. Right, okay, now while it's cooking, or baking, okay, I'm going to now concentrate on preparing the icing sugar in advance, okay? So I'm not going to cook the icing sugar yet, but I'm going to get things ready. Now, first of all, I'm going to put some butter into the saucepan, but I'm not going to cook it. This is just on scales at the moment, so I need 40 grams of butter. So I've got some almost 1 year out of date butter here. It says August the 20th. So this is about 1 year old roughly. It doesn't matter. It's just been melting in this heat, to be honest. So it was okay when I had it a while ago, so don't worry. I didn't want to put all of it in. It's not my intention. Right, so how much is that? That's 33. I need a bit more. So, in this, yeah, it's 41. So it's 41 that will do. So this is, what was the date again? Verify something you really want it, can you? Okay, anyway, I'll worry about that later. Yeah, even the wrapping's starting to fall to pieces, so... I've got it, yep. 20th of August 20. And it's currently... I believe it's the 18th or the 19th of July. I think it's the 19th of July today. Freedom Day, I believe. If for those following the coronavirus in Britain, British people know what I'm talking about, others won't have a clue. And it's a day when we're supposed to be more freer because of the coronavirus stuff. So this is 11 months out of date, but it will do for me. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. There you go. That's roughly the. If I lift it out a minute, I'll see. Yeah, but there's also this. Yes, it's about, there's roughly 40. I'll take this out completely. 1, 7, 27. It's weird. Just a minute. Yeah, 37. That will do. Right, so that's, it should be 40, but I don't think 3 is going to make that much of a difference. Right, so now I have to sift things for some reason. So it is absolutely boiling here, so that's why the it's 80 degrees over here. I can't remember what that is in centigrade, but it's 80. Because traditionally we've always remembered the hottest weather in Fahrenheit and the coolest and the sub-zero freezing temperatures in Celsius. Okay, so now I'm going to use a sieve. And I've got some icing sugar somewhere. I have some icing sugar somewhere, haven't I? Right. Did I forget to bring it up? Right, I think I forgot to bring the icing sugar, so I'll do the oh, it's in the house somewhere, I've just seen it. So now I'm going to do I'm supposed to do 25 grams of cocoa powder, so this is the same cocoa powder you saw earlier, Bourneville, and I'm going to oh no, 4, 17, oh, that's not very helpful, is it? Okay. Every time you lift up it changes. Okay, it says 27, so 25. I'll just push that through my hands. It says 25, I don't believe it. It's comes and goes slightly, so that's the cocoa powder sorted out. Now I'm going to deal with the icing sugar. I'll find what I did with it. Okay, so now I'm going to try and deal with the icing sugar. Okay guys, I've got the icing sugar now. I'm using a cheaper version, Whitworth's icing sugar, okay? Knowing what I now know about Whitworth's and quality, I would probably have rather got to take the lower one, but never mind. In the past I tried to go cheap and I paid the price. So never mind, I'm not going to say any more because my mum doesn't like their sugar in tea, so I think she probably knows what she's talking about, so I don't know. So anyway, I'm using their icing sugar anyway, because when I went to another shop recently, I didn't see any icing sugar in that particular budget shop, so I have to walk a long way just to get some icing sugar from a different brand. I really can't be bothered, so it'll have to do. Okay, right now. Right, so I know the siev's about 40 grams, so if I just put this on here a minute. I'm supposed to put about 100. I'm going to put 120, that's 20 less. I'm going to see what happens when I put 20 less in. And just shake it. In the meantime, I actually washed the sieve, so that's probably going to be a bit of a mistake because some of it it's gone into the cocoa powder, but never mind. I'm going to use my fingers to push it through. It's gone to about 46 for some reason. I'm not 100% sure I trust these scales, which is weird, but okay. Now I'll put well, that's interesting. I'll lift this up a minute. Okay, so it's gone to 105. Well, I'm not going to worry about it being 5 over, so I just hope that's right. Good guess. I'm never bothered about getting the exact number of grams. A few grams over probably won't make that much of a difference. Right, so now, as far as I'm concerned, there's now most of the ingredients prepared. There's just a bit of milk to add later, but I've got the saucepan ready, so I've got the sugar ready, I've got the cocoa ready, I've got the butter ready, And it's starting to melt because it is absolutely boiling here, honestly. So I'm going to mix all of this, and it'd be interesting to see what 11-month out of date butter's like, but never mind. It's going to be cooked anyway. It's going to be heated in the saucepan, so don't worry, guys. Now, soon I should be able to get the cake out of the oven and let it cool down. And then while it's cooling down, I can wait for it to cool down, and then I can do some of the icing stuff. And there you go, guys. See you soon. Right, guys. I've just gone downstairs and done a quick test, and the cake looks like it's ready, okay? So, at least the main part. I haven't put the icing on yet. This is all to do with the icing, okay? But the main part of the cake looks like it's done. Now, this is something called a skewer, okay? Often people use this sort of thing to cook things like kebabs and other stuff on. I know this looks a bit rusty. It could probably do a clean, but I'm not going to go that far in it, so it doesn't matter, okay? And this is what I have to use, okay? Now, you'll notice it's got a small point on the end, okay? Now, what you do is you push this into the cake, and if when it comes out, when you pull it out again, there's no sticky stuff left on it, it means the cake is done. If when you pull it out there's some sticky stuff on here, it means the cake isn't quite ready yet. Okay, I've tested downstairs, it's okay, but I'm going to show you me doing this. But I'm going to do the rest of it downstairs with no sound, just because I don't want to talk downstairs. The woman's sleeping, and if I wonder what I'm doing if I do. I'm doing this upstairs at the moment. So I'm going to show you me taking this out, the cake out of the oven, and I'm going to push this into it, and then you'll then see me use a spatula to try and go around the outside to loosen it, okay? Ready for when it cools down, and then I can put it onto a plate and then create some icing and put some icing on, okay? Now, okay, so I'm now going to go downstairs, okay? Nothing on there. Okay, another piece of preparation, okay, is that I'm supposed to put in, for the icing, I'm supposed to put in 3 tablespoons of milk. Now, I'm sure that if normally I would just do this directly, but because I'm filming it, I'm sure it's going to go terribly wrong. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the milk into jug. Here I have some pasteurised milk. I'm going to put the milk 1 tablespoon at a time into the jug, and then when I need to use it I'll just pour it out of the jug, okay? So I'm going to pour the milk into here. That's 1. 2. 3 tablespoons. Right, so that's 3 tablespoons of milk, okay? Right, now I'll do all of this later when it's the cake's cooled down a lot more, okay? Right, now it's not fully cold yet, but it's a lot cooler than it was, okay? So I've already done something similar to this earlier, but you didn't see it because I wanted to test things off camera. So now, as soon as it's come out, you'll see there's a bit of burn there because some of it leaked out the bottom. And that's why she recommended that you put in some greaseproof paper, but I was too lazy to, or tight to be honest. So this it's got a special bottom on it. A loose lid bottom so you can push it. I've already pushed it earlier to make it simpler for me. So as you notice I can push the cake out. And I'm going to take it out and put it onto the plate like this. So that should then make it easier to cool down because this isn't in the way now. Also, I have a spatula here, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to turn this upside down. Just a minute, oh that wasn't very helpful. Put it upside down on the plate. I'm going to use the spatula to loosen it off here. This is probably going to be where it's going to go completely terrible. But this is what I'm trying to do. I'm going to turn this around now. So it will hopefully resemble something like a cake somehow. Oh, I didn't do all of it, so some of it is round here doesn't look properly done. It looks a bit bad, but I'm not a professional, and you know, there you go. I'm aware that the experts know more than I do about trying to make it look nice, but there you go. I can get around this by putting icing on this side. So the icing on here will hide the fact that I had to, you know, get off here. I'm sure experts, some fantastic way of doing this, or they've got a better spatula than I have, or they've got some really amazing technique, but, you're always going to get problems at the bottom, okay? Unless you are an expert that knows something I don't, okay? Because it always sticks to the bottom somehow, slightly. No matter how well you grease it, it'll always stick to the bottom, some bits will. So, there you go. I'm sure there are professionals that know a better way of solving this problem. That's why I think they use greaseproof paper, because if you use the greaseproof paper, it will come out without this problem. But I'm too tight to bite, to be totally honest. And once I put the icing sugar on, no one will ever know, apart from, of course, you've all seen it. Okay? So that, first of all, is the cake before I put any of the icing sugar. Okay. It's still a bit warm, but it's a lot cooler. I can touch it. It's not perfect. So I can try and eat some off here. It's not too bad. Okay. So, not too bad means it's quite good, I think, but I don't know. I'd have to compare it with like a professional one. But, you know, it tastes okay to me. I've made this sort of thing many, many times. I made chocolate things in many guises, but I don't think I've ever put any chocolate icing on, because normally I've just ate it like this and cut it in half. And normally, to be honest, I've done it in 2 sandwich tins when I've done it. But for once, she recommended you do it in a big cake tin. I've just done it exactly her way. So, as I said, in the meantime, this is cooling down. It's probably cool enough anyway to just put the icing sugar on, so it doesn't probably matter too much. It's not absolutely boiling, so it's not totally cold, but it's probably not too bad. So, right. That is, and there's that, so I'll see how cool it has to be. It says leave to cool on a wire rack. I haven't bothered with a wire rack. Because I could do it on a wire rack, and I have done things on a wire rack before. But this time I think I'll just leave it out in the open on a plate. It's just because I'm filming it, and if things can go wrong, they will. I have done things on a wire rack before, but for once I'm going to do it this way because I'm filming it. Also, you're meant to leave the icing sugar mixture, the icing mixture to cool as well. So I'm going to try and cook that now. So I'm now going to move this out of the way. And now I'm going to prepare for the cooking the icing sugar mixture, okay? Icing mixture, sorry. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to try and heat up the butter, okay? So I'm going to try and start making icing sugar. Now I know this looks a bit of a mess, but it could do with a clean, but it's what I've got available easily that I can use on camera, okay? So I'm going to turn it on. It's a hot plate, okay? It's a small individual hot plate, okay? Just to show you. Small hot plate. Okay, it'll do for now. I can clean it another time, okay? I'll just grab what is available at the moment, okay? So now I'm going to move it forward. I'm going to tilt this back a bit. So now you can see what's going on in the saucepan. I'm going to turn this up. I'm going to use a wooden spoon to stir everything with. The idea is you're meant to melt this first, so it's melted, and then once it's melted I'm supposed to add the cocoa powder. And how long it will take to melt this butter, but never mind. It's starting to melt. I want to make sure this butter's thoroughly melted, because it is 11 months out of date butter, and so, you know, if you heat things enough, even if you overheat them, you're less likely to die. you know. But in the past, people had butter for months or weeks, and they didn't put it in the fridge because people didn't have a fridge in the past. They just had to have butter, and they just had to buy it, and it just had to last in a pantry somehow. And people just had to deal with it. Well, that's why people lived to be about 30 or 40 and not 80 or 90. Anyway, you can see the butter's now practically all melted, okay? So now it's a liquid. I'm just going to double check this. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Yep. Now it says add the cocoa powder, so this is the cocoa powder that we did earlier. I'm just going to put all of that in. I'm aware there will be some at the bottom, so I'm just going to tap this. This is actually really supposed to be a rice bowl, but I've never used it for that. But it says it's a white embossed rice bowl. It's even got a sticker on the bottom telling you that it's actually a rice bowl. I've never understood it, but I'm not Chinese, to be honest, or Indian, so what people use a rice bowl for is totally beyond me. I think it's just presentation. I've never used it for that. I just use it as some sort of small mixing bowl, or if I wanted to be totally honest. So now I'm going to mix the cocoa powder, and now you notice it's looking like some sort of treacle. It's very dark in here. It looks very dark brown. And it said cook on it for about a minute. So I'm doing just that. It looks like some sort of treacle almost. I know you probably can't tell, but it is sort of a dark brown, but it's difficult to tell, I know. Okay, I'm now going to turn it down. You can't see this, so I'm going to now turn the cooker down and off. I'll turn the cooker off because it takes a long time for this cooker to cool down. Once it's a hot plate that takes a while to heat up, and once it heats up, even without power, it takes a long time to cool down. So now I think that's more than a minute. So remove from the heat. It's too difficult for me to do that, I'm afraid. So it says remove from the heat and add the milk and icing and beat well. So I'm just going to... I could easily do this in another environment, but it's too difficult for me to do this while I'm... So I said add the milk and icing sugar, so I'm going to add the... And it says stirring, so it says leave to cool and then stir occasionally. Now, because of this, I can't. I'm just going to pour the icing sugar now straight in. I'm tapping the top of the bowl. Oh, there's a lot of it still left in for some reason. No idea why a great big amount like that doesn't want to go in, but that's more like it. I shouldn't have to do this. There's a large chunk in there still, and I've no idea why, so I'm just going to push all that in. Especially if it's been sifted. Anyway, I'm going to stir this around. Now notice it's now looking like some sort of solid thing. Interesting. It's ridiculous because I've like cooked all this butter and it's almost like it's turning it into some sort of it's like I've actually bought some special chocolate powder for drinking for milkshakes, and it's got some sort of milk powder in it, I think, some sort of special powder in it with cocoa powder. And it's really weird because it's turned this into, like, you saw the treacle before, and now all this icing sugar has basically removed, turned this almost into a powder again. Strange. Okay, I mean, I will be honest, I don't think I've ever really bothered with icing things. I've just baked cakes but never actually bothered with icing them, so I don't know. And as I said, I would normally, let's see how warm it is. It's still quite warm. Interesting. Okay, so now I've done that. I know you're not supposed to put it on here, but I have no choice. Not while I'm filming this. So now I'm going to put the milk in. I'm going to lift it off the pan. And that might turn into a sort of treacle again. Now, my gut instinct is this is going to be an absolute disaster, but I have no idea. As I said, the hot plate's off, but it's still warm and it takes time, so I'm holding this in my hand. So it's gone back to a sort of treacle again. It's really strange. It went to like a powder, and then the minute you added the milk in, it's gone straight back to the treacle. I know I'm stating the obvious, but I'm just amazed that it's had that much of an effect. So I'm going to try and put some more of the icing sugar in. Stir that round. So this is going to be the icing sugar. Strange, but never mind. It looks like an absolute disaster, but I don't think I've ever done I put icing on things, or if I have, I can't honestly remember, because I don't normally do icing type things. Okay. 40 grams of butter. Right, so they tell you to put all this on the top of the cake. And to let it cool down. Okay, so I'm going to do things now off camera, because it's too hard to do this on camera. So I'm going to take this downstairs and do the rest off camera, let it cool down till it's set a bit more, and then by then this might have gone cold, so I can just put it on here, not because it's hot anymore, but because it's the only place I dare put a saucepan, truthfully, that's potentially warm. still very liquidy. I have a nasty suspicion it might even remain like this, but I hope I'm wrong. Right, so I'm going to leave that to cool a bit. And I'll see you later, guys, okay? Right, guys, now I've tried to thicken up the icing thing, but it looks like it's going to be a total disaster. I genuinely haven't got a clue what it's meant to look like, and I've never tried. I don't think I've even tried to do this, so this is why it's going to look difficult. It's so annoying that I did the main cake part right. I thought the icing would be easy, but I'm not sure. I read elsewhere that if it didn't look thick enough, add more icing sugar, so I cheated and just kept adding lots of extra icing sugar and mixing it. I have no idea. This is probably going to be an absolute total disaster. But never mind. And it talked about doing swirls and things with a knife. It doesn't look thick enough for anything like that. I'm going to hope that somehow this sets somehow. Like I thought, a lot of it's just dripping down onto the plate. I've never done this, I don't think so. Looks like some sort of treacle on top. And all I can do is try and lift some of that off, put it on the top here. And hopefully that will sort itself out in some way. I mean, they said put it on with a knife, but I've talked about doing swirly shapes on it. I don't think it's even possible to do that, so this is probably why people go to proper cookery schools, because at a proper cookery school, at least you know what it's supposed to look like. And if you've got any problems, you can say, help. And here, I've never done this before, and I don't know how thick it's supposed to actually be. So, Maybe this is what it's supposed to look like, and I don't know, but anyway, you're supposed to have to do some swirly shapes on it and make it look all exotic. I've really tried to thicken it up, so I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it, trying to some of it I said it looks like a disaster, but never mind. Maybe this is genuinely what it's supposed to be like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm now going to, this is just a tin. It was a chocolate tin which once had chocolates in, but I'm going to use this to put the cake in here. Just because if I leave it out, the flies will get it. So there you go, guys. My chocolate cake. I'm sure it'll be a complete disaster, but I've no idea if the icing's supposed to look like that or not. So I'm going to put a lid on it, and I'm going to leave it, okay, and see what happens, okay. Actually, I might not. I might put some extra. I'll just take the lid off a minute. I'll just try and see if I can get any more out of here and just put it on there. But okay, so now I'm going to put the lid on and really leave it this time. Anyway, just for those who are curious, that's what a roses tin looks like. It usually had chocolates in it. Usually these would be sold around, mostly around Christmas time. As around Christmas time, people tend to eat a lot of chocolates. They often buy tins like this and then share them with their family and visitors and people like that. But anyway, that's my chocolate cake. I know it looks damned horrible with the icing on, but there you go. Not what I call icing, but there you go. Maybe I'm just naive on what it's supposed to look like. Perhaps I've been eating too many gateaux, I don't know, but anyway. I've done the cakes many times, but I've never ever done the icing, I don't think. You know, if I've done anything, I've usually done Victoria sponge cakes, and I've just, you know, put cream in the middle or something. Anyway, if you don't hear any more from me on this, thanks for watching and goodbye. I may add something later, so if this video is longer than this, well, carry on watching, okay? Bye for now. Okay, right, it's starting to set a bit more now. So I'm going to see, I've got what she calls a curved knife, or it's a spatula. And I'm going to try and put some strange markings in it. Try and lift some of this up and talk about some sort of swirling things. I know this looks an absolute nightmare. I clearly haven't got what it takes to do this fancy icing fancy swirly stuff that she's talking about, but right, so I know it looks horrible, so it's going to go back into the tin after I've tried to do some weird swirly stuff. For me, it's just whether it tastes nice. Rather if I can do something that looks good. I've never tried to do fancy looking icing, and when I did something a long time ago, I think it was at school a long time ago, I think we had an icing bag and you could squeeze things out of an icing bag. That's a lot easier, but with something like this you have to do it yourself, and I had to leave this for hours and hours and hours, and I wasn't sure how many hours I had to leave it before it would even try and set in any way at all, because it was very liquidy. And I think it would have been helpful if Mary Berry had given an indication of how long you would have to wait for it to set, rather than just saying wait for it to cool down. How long? No idea. I mean, it gave the impression you could just wait like 10 minutes, not several hours. Anyway, I'm going to now put this back into the tin, into the chocolate tin. And I'm now going to have it probably later, okay? So thanks for watching. I think that will probably be it now, if there's nothing else after this. So bye if this is the end, okay?